there was only three people I would have wanted as head coaches. Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, or Dan Quinn, all because they had prior head coaching experience. I was just tired of the first team, the first time head coaches. It just wasn't working specifically for this organization. So they needed basically an adult in the room. I think it showed um, under Nathaniel Hackett's tenure. I mean, it just didn't work. And I think now more and more Broncos just hired him to try to get Aaron Rodgers. And because he showed no like coaching acumen at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So getting rid of losing the draft picks sucks, but I mean they were late round draft picks. The first it was a 28th pick essentially. So I mean, considering what the Broncos needed right now, which was a head coach, a qualified head coach, they needed that more than that draft pick, to be quite honest, at this point. So I'm good with it.
Yeah, I think honestly, it's like people have described it as, trading Bradley Chubb for Sean Payton at that point. Essentially, what happened, it was a late draft pick it turned into. So I don't know. Like as far as for what my thinking is we went all in on Russ, and the only choice at this point is to go all in on a head coach to see if he's still got anything left, if he's still the way, if he can still be who a lot of us think he could be. You have to have a good coach. I mean, and I would like to give Hackett some credit. He's probably he was a nice offensive mastermind over there for a year with Aaron Rodgers, but it just didn't fit here, and he just didn't have the leadership and the the skill set that was needed to basically, I don't know, get the team behind him and just to pull everything he needed to out of Russ, honestly. So I think this is the best case scenario for us. We needed a coach who knows how to work with a shorter quarterback and who knows how to adjust his game plan to get the best out of Russ, honestly. And Drew Brees and Russ are pretty similar as far as in size. I think Sean Payton has mentioned that before, and I think he's gonna move the scheme around and do something to where Russ is gonna have a lot more time, hopefully in or out of the pocket, and he's gonna be a whole different quarterback, I hope. But I like it. I give it a A, B plus A for what we had to give up. A lot of people are like, oh my God, I can't believe we gave up more. But honestly, like I said, it was just a late round pick at that point. I mean, we've already gave up enough, so it's not that big deal.
Yeah, man. Like, I'll say this, like, you guys have mirrored a lot of what the Chiefs had to go through post, I would say, Dick Vermeil. So like after Dick Vermeil, we had Herm Edwards, we had Todd Haley, we had Romeo Crennel, a bunch of guys who, I mean, Herm was fun because Herm's just kind of a lunatic, but he's you enjoy it. Like, but as far as like a head coach, you want somebody better, right? You want somebody established, you want somebody that's solid, you want somebody that doesn't change a lot. Like you don't want somebody like that's the thing that when we brought in Andy Reid, like I don't know if you guys remember this, but and it kind of pertains to the Super Bowl, but basically like the Eagles and him, it wasn't working, right? Like they weren't doing well, and they both decided like we got to change something, and so he got let go or fired or however you want to put it, and then the Chiefs were on it like immediately. They were like, "Nah, we recognize who you are and what you bring to the table, and if tell us how much you want, and we'll give it to you," kind of thing. It's gonna be the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Broncos next year are gonna compete heavily for the AFC West and playoff position and all of that going forward. I don't think the Raiders are going to be anything. I honestly, I think
Thank God somebody said that. It's my God. There were so many people on the Raiders bandwagon over this year. It was,
you
and I
know,
just didn't.
like it looked good on
And
paper, but again,
it does, yeah.
it's kind of one of those things. Like, do you believe in Josh McDaniels, or is it just gonna move
No.
forward?
No,
Yeah, like
exactly.
I mean, you
No.
guys, Josh McDaniels was your coach.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm.
you and again, how many coaches changed that dramatically to become much better, right? And he has shown, especially in for the Raiders, like he can win some games, but getting rid of Derek Carr, I don't think is the best idea. Honestly, I think they just it's this change
I
of
think it's a
culture for them.
I think it's a stupid idea, to be
Yeah,
quite honest.
yeah, he's
I
probably
do.
gonna succeed wherever he goes, to be honest. So, but yeah, man, I'm
Well, you
excited.
never know, man. You never know. Honestly, with that, it's like he's had enough time to kind of get over that hump, and he never has. Not saying it's all his fault, but he never really has. And
True.
then you look at like something like San Francisco, where they end up to their third string quarterback, and I mean Brock Purdy, if he didn't get hurt, that dude was killing it. You know what I'm saying? So you never know. Except for you do know with the Broncos, I don't remember the last time we had a good backup quarterback that just came in and killed it. I can't remember that at all, but yeah, you never know, really. Honestly, Carr's great. He's good. He's a great quarterback. But how many times you got to give him the keys and everything? And not saying it was all his fault, but at a
Yeah.
certain point, you kind of got
A
to
lot of that's
look a different way.
coaching. A lot of that's coaching, though. I
Sure.
think Kyle Shanahan has proven that he is a great coach. And I think a lot of the success the 49ers had with the third string quarterback had a lot to do with the coaching and
Yeah.
coaching the offense to the best skill sets of the quarterback, whatever quarterback is in there. So
Yep.
and that's the best coaches that could adjust to bring out the best in their roster, no matter who's in there. And a guy like Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid is a good example of that. I mean, the success he's had, and I'll go for a circle and say Sean Payton as well. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the first things he didn't first things he said. One of the things he said a couple months about fixing Russ is, I want to talk. If I were to talk to him, I would want to know what plays he likes. And it seems like something so simple, but a lot of offensive coaches don't do that. They want their game plan, and they want the quarterback and the offense to run that game plan no matter what. And sometimes it's like trying to fit a square peg, trying to put a square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't work. And the best coaches figure that out. And I mean, coaches like Bill Belichick. I could go on and on, but I
Yeah.
mean, those are the reasons why they're the best coaches, is because they adjust their team to the talent they have. And it sounds so simple, but not not all coaches do that. And the best ones do. So
That's a good point.
So,
Let's make sure we shout out Bob for giving us a few seconds on the Broncos, but making sure that he brought the Chiefs into that few seconds for the
you knew
Broncos. He
you were
compared
gonna
us to
do
the
it.
Chiefs.
You know
You
he
know
was
what I
gonna
mean?
do
That's
that.
that's Bob for you. He's like,
yeah.
here, let's talk about the Broncos. Now, the Broncos remind me of the
Yeah.
Chiefs. You know what I mean? That's our boy.
Which is true, but
it's
it's funny
true,
how that
man.
always comes to that.
Eagles, Niners, Bengals, Chiefs, right? So this was one of those situations where, if the Niners had a legitimate quarterback at that time, do you think that they win that game?
No,
Mm,
it already started to look a little bleak. It already started to look a little bleak before Purdy got hurt.
You
That was just the
sure?
tip of the iceberg. Yeah, I mean, even the way he got hurt. I mean, he got
Well,
hurt when especially those first two drives, the defensive line was all in the backfield.
I get that.
And then eventually he ended up getting hurt. But man,
But it was halfway into the second quarter or something like that, and it was 7-0.
now he got hurt early. I know.
What
It was
about
early
hold on,
first
hold on.
quarter.
Yeah, sure. Well, Brock got
It was
But what I'm saying is
Yeah.
the score wasn't out of hand until like, second half, right? So it was one of those situations where like is it that the Eagles are that good or that the 49ers us lost a quarterback, but not just a quarterback, but both quarterbacks, right? They had
Yeah.
no ability to throw the ball whatsoever. All they had to do was run. And so at that point, like what are you gonna do? Like you can't
True.
win a game if you can't throw the ball. So that it's tough, man. Like
That is true. And even though and you make a great point, even though it was 7-0, I never felt it. Just never felt with any of those quarterbacks with the way that the defensive line was just in the backfield repeatedly. It just did not seem like the 49ers were ever going to, which surprised me, to be quite honest, because I think they do have one of the better offensive lines, but man,
Well,
it just didn't seem like, regardless of the score, which was early, it was pretty close. It just did not seem that the 49ers offense could do anything from the start of the game, in my
well,
opinion.
they were almost that. I mean, give me a break. They were almost had Christian McCaffrey as their quarterback at that point. You know what I
Right.
mean? He was
True.
their next quarterback up. So, like, yeah, you can have the best, like the Broncos defense for Super Bowl 50. We didn't really necessarily have a great offensive output in that game, but the fact is we had Peyton still reading the defenses and still getting what he needed to get, and still game managing. They couldn't even Niners couldn't even do that. You know what I mean? They couldn't even do that with the position they were in, with the fact that Purdy couldn't even act like he could throw the ball. I mean, he was obviously too hurt. He couldn't do anything. It was going to be a run every time. It was a no-win situation at that point. But you got to give their defense a little bit of I don't know, a little bit of a hats off to him for keeping them in close as it was. I mean, it could have been a lot worse, you would think.
did you see what Brandon Ayuk said about the Eagles? So
I did.
I
yeah,
Mhm.
did.
yeah. So
A lot of, but it's funny. A lot of teams have said that about the Eagles this year, by the way. But
yeah, so
so,
that's a question for me. And we'll get into it when we talk about the Super Bowl stuff, but the Eagles, man, like so their defense, they have a lot of good playmakers. They have a lot of good names. They have a lot of guys who can make plays, right? And I keep thinking about them and how good their defense is, and they are good. You can't deny it. They're historically good. They've gotten more sacks than, or just as many. They tied with the 85 Bears, right? With the amount of
mhm,
sacks they've gotten in a year.
mhm.
Now you can look at that a bunch of different ways. Like, are you like look at the competition? Are they the best quarterbacks they've gone up against are like Goff and like Rodgers, right? But it's also one of those things where you look at the O lines, you look at the opportunities, you look at the turnovers. There's a lot to like about the Eagles and their defense. But it's also like, are they legit? And I do think that they are. I think that they are gonna pose a very, very tough challenge for the Chiefs coming up in the Super Bowl. Which we'll talk about. But yeah, man, I don't think I think IU they can be had. I think that the Eagles, I mean, they lost to um a Ravens team with Heineke as quarterback. They lost to Dak Prescott, right? Depending on what you think about the Cowboys, but and that's the
And the Chiefs lost to Indianapolis, though. You know what I mean?
yeah, and the Eagles almost lost to Indianapolis too. They barely beat the Colts. So that's the thing. Like,
hmm
it's hard to tell because this is one of those years where it's like the Chiefs didn't play the Eagles obviously this year, and so we have no idea. There's no frame of reference for how they're going to play against each other. The last time they played was a year ago, and the Chiefs like stomped them. They beat them up, but again, they didn't have AJ Brown, and they didn't have the Eagles have gotten better for sure since then, and we don't have Tyreek, so it's definitely a different. Both teams are different. So it's hard to
But
compare.
Miles Sanders is playing on a different level. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
He's
No. But
there's plenty of difference in it. When I agree with you,
oh
there's a lot
yeah.
of difference from that
And
game to
that's why I don't know what's gonna happen, but we'll get to there in a minute. All right. So I think this is a good time to jump into the AFC Championship game. Now I was looking online. I saw some posts. I saw some some angry things here and there with the way the game turned out, right? Or how it was going, right? And so I want to know, how did you guys feel about the AFC Championship game?
Mm, mm, mm. That's tough.
It was a close game. Clearly, obviously. Um, it was a badly officiated game. I mean, there's no ways around it. It just was.
You watched
I
the
mean,
full game, right?
yes, yeah, I did. It was. There were some questionable calls throughout that whole game.
Facts.
So there's no, and it was unfortunate how the game ended. The call that's a typical, um, what do you want to call it? Personal foul call. So they had to call it, but that game did feel. I'm not gonna say it was rigged or anything like that, but it felt. What's the word I'm looking for? It was disappointing that the game was really close. It was a really good game, but it was badly officiated to the point that it took away from it. So that's kind of
Yeah,
that.
I don't like coming off as bias, and got to give the Chiefs their credit where credit's due. They're where they're at. They won the game. Obviously, they put the points on the board to even be there to where it would be close enough to for the refs to even have any like kind of way to change the game with their calls or anything like that. It's got to be pretty close for for them to be able to do that. But along with what you said there's whether Bob wants to admit it or not, that was a horribly officiated game. I mean, there's stuff that just wasn't even talked about. There was a hold on that play. First of all, there was a hold on that play where he ended up getting the first down and the personal foul call. There was a hold that they play all over the internet. I mean, blatant hold. Let alone, there was a illegal block on the run back to get him into that position. And that's just two things just on the last drive. The whole game, it was just lopsided. It was bad. It was very bad officiating. And this is just us two Broncos fans. It is just us two Broncos fans because honestly, me and Zach would probably be feeling this way anyways. But we wouldn't, blame it on the refs. We would blame it on plenty of other stuff. But this was said by everybody over Twitter. If it wasn't,
Oh yeah.
Bob sitting here, you know what I mean, he would be. If it was a different team, Bob would have said the same thing. He might be impartial a little bit and say, yeah, the refs might have not been 100% on their game this time. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Who knows? But it doesn't matter. Give me a break. Who cares what Bob thinks? What do you think, Bob? Let's hear you. Be honest.
Yeah. So I went through, obviously, after the game, there was all this hoopla about all the different non-calls and everything, and whether or not the game should have ended with a personal foul, roughing the, pushing him out of the bounds. That was the right call for sure. It happened. It's clear as day. He was out of bounds a good foot and a half before he got pushed, kind of thing. Like, and even the Bengals are like, why did you do that? Right. There was no reason to touch him. So that call, was legit. On the same
Well,
thing.
give us that hold then. Give us that hold on the same play.
So yes, there was a hold on that play. But again, it wasn't egregious. But listen, there was another hold where the Chiefs had run the ball for a touchdown that they called back on the Chiefs. So if you want to say that they were calling, the plays that the refs were on the Chiefs side, I think that's BS, because I went through and rewatched the game and I went through every single flag that they threw. And they took away points from the Chiefs on a very it was very minimal, right? It was minimal hold. There's holding, if you want to say there's holding every play, you could call it, right? And they took points off the board from the Chiefs. And the pass where they threw it to Tony in the end zone, the ref he couldn't even see his body was facing away from the ref. The ball was away from the ref. There's no way he could have made a definitive call whether or not that Tony didn't catch the ball. He called a no touchdown, but then the Chiefs had to challenge it, right? And so it ended up being, it wasn't a touchdown, but that ref had no idea. He was on the part of the field where he could not see that. So there was a couple of plays where the Chiefs lost points where, again, if it were rigged, they would have just given the Chiefs one of those touchdowns, if not both. Right.
Oh, but we never said it was rigged. We just said it was very poorly officiated.
Yeah. So on top, yeah, for sure. And those are, again, two examples that would not have helped the Chiefs, for those of you that think it was rigged. There was also like lot of.
Bob had to write this stuff down right here. Look at this. He had to write this.
I did. I put it in my phone because I marked every single flag and whether or not it was legit or not. Right.
The Chiefs fans were the only ones that could stomach watching that game back over to check the plays. Like nobody else could stomach it. We were like, no, we can't watch that over.
I will say to your definitive. I mean, one will take a look at the stats and say that penalties, Bengals were called for 9 penalties, 71 yards. Chiefs were penalized 4 times for 55 yards. So,
yeah, right.
Okay, so it's 9-4.
9-4, yeah.
But again,
I'm just putting it out there. I'm not saying either way. I'm just putting that out there.
Did those flags turn into points, right? And that's the other thing that I looked at too, where all these flags that were thrown, did they matter in the outcome of the game? And every one of those flags, minus obviously the one at the end, when the Chiefs had that 3rd and 9, and then it was a repeat of 3rd and 9, right?
That one didn't turn in. It turned into it didn't.
It turned into nothing, right?
It just
right.
It did turn into nothing, but that was pretty.
That was not a good look, though.
But again, like they showed the guy running out in the middle field, waving his hands, blowing his whistle. Like it was stopped, but again, because of the crowd noise and everything, they couldn't hear it. But the biggest thing, like penalties aside, and I can go through with you line by line, penalty by penalty. There was 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. The Bengals had the ball with 2 timeouts. And they could not make it happen. So for me,
can I stop you there right there? If you're talking about the refs, there was another controversial. I'm just putting this out there, whether you guys agree with me or not. There was another.
Oh, I agree with you already.
There was another play in that drive, a questionable intentional grounding.
It was
where you have the receiver mixing in the area, but they still called intentional grounding.
Yes, but the ball needs to get to the line of scrimmage, and it did not get to the line of scrimmage.
If he's in the pocket if he's in the pocket, which he was still in the pocket, and he has a receiver right there, it doesn't necessarily have to get back to the line of scrimmage. Just to the receiver. If the receiver's in the area, he could still. It's only if you throw the ball away
when you watch the play, did he throw it into the dirt? Was he trying to get it too close to his player? No.
That's a judgment call. I could say that he was trying to get it to the receiver. I could say he was trying to get to the receiver, but he couldn't get it to him because of the pressure.
Right. But you could say. Yeah, but again,
okay, we could argue this all day. But anyway,
but listen, that was a question. I'm just saying that was a questionable call as well. You're right. But that play didn't matter because the very next play, It was third.
It was third and
15,
15. It was third and
16,
like long. It
56
was not yeah,
seconds, and two
exactly.
timeouts.
Exactly.
And
So
he
it was
got
a
the first down. So, or he didn't get the first down. Chris Jones.
no, they had a punt. Yeah, they had a punt after that.
Well,
Yeah.
Chris
So
Jones
it was a
backed him.
big right. And then they got the big return. Yeah. So it was a big play. So
So,
I mean, and another questionable call. So I'm
well,
just
it was a
putting that out.
question.
And
yeah,
and that's not even saying, because you guys brought up like the number of penalties, right? You brought up 9-5, 9-4, whatever it
Right.
was, but that's not including missed calls. You get what I'm saying? That's a huge
yes,
thing.
but
There
there's
was
missed
missed
calls
calls.
every game. Every game they could call holding on the offensive line for every team if they wanted to.
Yeah, and I'm
This
not
is
just
the
saying that
playoffs.
though.
In the
I'm not
playoffs,
saying
you
that
let
though.
teams
But
play,
look,
right?
on a kickoff, what are you looking at on a kickoff? All you have to look for is illegal blocks in the back, and you know what I mean, illegal blocks and things like that. They completely blatantly missed an illegal block on that kickoff where your boy ran it to midfield. The coach was about to run on the field and tackle himself.
There was an
the
earlier
Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, there was an earlier play where
Our-
where there was a similar play and the Chiefs got called for it. They lost like 30 yards or 40 yards of return because of a block.
Well,
It was
well,
a
good. Then they should have got called for it again.
The Chiefs got 0 points out of it. Like if you want to call it both ways and you observe it both ways. The Chiefs lost like 40 yards of off of of the whole field. Like they were on the Bengals 30. They started on their 30 because of a play like that they got called. Their kick team got called against it. So there was both. It was happening throughout the game. Like every one of those plays, I can give you an example of the way that they did it against the Chiefs for sure. Like it's just the ones that you see, obviously, like, yeah, did he just stand up and the guy turned around and get hit? Yeah, that happened.
Well,
Did he push him?
Well,
No.
Well, if you don't throw that flag, right? You don't throw that flag for the illegal block. Then don't throw the flag for the hit out of bounds. It was, but technically, if you look at the replay, he had 1 foot in bounds still. So you
No, he
could be
didn't.
like, oh,
No,
well,
his foot.
yes, he did.
No,
There
he
was a
foot and
partial
a half
foot
out.
that was.
He was a foot and a half
Nah,
out.
his
I'll
other
slow
foot
down
was
for
his
you and
other
show
foot was
you.
the other foot. His other foot was still in, I believe. If you look at it, I believe he had part of his
So
other
his-
foot that was
his
in.
left
It
foot-
doesn't matter
he was out of
because
bounds.
he was
Yeah,
heading out. He was heading out of bounds anyways.
He was
Yeah.
out of bounds.
So
It should have been called.
His
So-
left.
Technically, it should have. But I'm saying
bottom
if
line
you-
is,
it
regardless
should
of
have been
that,
called.
bottom line is that it was a poorly official for a game that close. And it was pretty close, pretty much for most of the game. We're talking about we're talking about a poorly officiated game.
And
so,
it was both
I mean,
ways.
Talking about
That's
practice?
all I'm saying is that there were bad calls both ways for sure. And what I will also say is that Chris Jones came to play. I told everybody that this game, it's not on Mahomes, it's not on Travis Kelce. This game is not even on Andy Reid. This game is on Chris Jones. And if Chris Jones comes to play, then they're gonna win. And that's exactly what he did. If not,
the game of his life.
if not for Chris Jones,
game of his life,
we
yeah.
lose that game. Like, because again, Burrow is great. He's a really good quarterback. He handles pressure well. He can step out of pressure here and there just by shuffling his feet, moving around a little bit and getting it to Chase, right? Like and then even in that game, 4th and 6, he gets makes a pass to Jamar Chase, 16 yards, first down, 1st and goal, right? And they get a touchdown out of it. Like, he played well. I mean, obviously he got sacked a bunch. Again, the Chiefs, that was the big difference this year versus last year. This year, the Chiefs sacked him a bunch and they made him nervous. It made it harder for him. He threw 2 interceptions, right? Like, nobody wants to talk about like the fact that he threw 2 interceptions, and that, it was the refs. It wasn't Joe Burrow. It wasn't the sacks. It wasn't the Chiefs defense stepping up. The Chiefs they sack the quarterback the second most times than in the league than anybody else. That was the big difference versus last year. Last year we couldn't get to the quarterback, and that's why we didn't end up in the Super Bowl. So I think that now that's how we won. if not for our defensive efforts and the efforts of the rookies that came to play and got those interceptions, we would be sitting at home right now. So
It was a great performance by Jones. Great defensive performance. Not quite, like a Von Miller Super Bowl 50, you know what I mean, defensive performance where that's like, you know what I mean, like the dude MVP. I mean, strip sack Miller, ruined Cam Newton's career, stole his soul, stole everything. You know what I mean? It's not quite on that level, but the dude played his heart out. Jones did, and he played good. So he definitely helped your boys out. And like I said at the beginning of this, your boys, deserve hats off. They're in the bowl, so there's not much we can say about it. We can say this, that, and this, but if it wasn't that close of a game, like I said, they put the points on the board to be in that position, so
and
gotta give them their due.
the Bengals had opportunities. They absolutely had opportunities to win the game, right?
I just wish Burrowhead would have stayed around for a little bit longer. I mean, it deserved one more year of Burrowhead because it's still Burrowhead in my opinion. It is.
I don't
It's
know.
always
I
gonna
don't
be
know anymore.
Burrowhead. You know what I mean?
I don't know about that. But
Whatever. I'll call it Burrowhead
I
for
don't
the
know
rest of
about
my
that.
life. I don't even
So
I
care.
don't know about
nice.
that.
So
Yeah, Chris Jones was the difference in that game, to be quite
Yeah.
honest. I mean, compared to last week, where Buffalo couldn't even touch Joe Burrow with that suspect offensive line. Chris Jones came to play, and I mean, that was really the difference in that game.
Yeah.
For a second, I didn't think it would be that close because of how many times he was in the backfield so much. But
Yeah.
So
I mean, Kelsey got his touchdown and everything. Kelsey did his thing there, but like he wasn't as huge as I thought he was going to be in that win. You know what I mean? He had
Yeah.
a great game. He
Well,
had a
when
good
you
game,
well,
which is
so
Kelsey always has a good game,
well
but like
here's
he didn't go.
Bengals Bengals. I don't know what it is with their deep. Well, they mix it up a lot. That's
so the
kind of
thing
why. But
so
they
here,
always struggle. I
here's
mean, Kelsey. I mean, go ahead. Go ahead.
here's why the Bengals are good against the Chiefs. The Bengals have a very good disciplined defense and they tackle very well. So there's not a lot of arm tackles. They don't miss a lot of tackles. And so when the Chiefs, a lot of times they do well on their yak, right? And so they get hit, but then they get 5 or 6 more yards. And the Bengals are good about not letting them do that. And they throw a lot of guys out into coverage and they can still get pressure. So that's why the Bengals, and then obviously Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow and Chase and all of them, and so they do these drives where the thing. So here's the big thing. This is why also the Chiefs won last week. We stopped the Bengals on third down. The Bengals last year AFC Championship game just drive down the field, first down, score, first down, first downs, right? So that second half of the AFC Championship game last year, we couldn't stop them. That was they just controlled they controlled us in the time of possession and all of that. And so the big thing going into this one is they had to make the Bengals punt, and they finally were able to do that with sacks, pressure, interceptions. They didn't do that last year, right? So it was a whole team effort. It was the rookies, it was Mahomes playing beat up. It was all of those
The
things.
refs. Oh, what? Go ahead, Bob.
Okay,
It was a team effort. You didn't put the refs on the team effort. Oh, okay, all right. We were right there. I was giving your boys props, and I was saying it was a team collaborated effort. Like the Chiefs had something to do with it, but now you're not putting the refs in it. So now I'm
That's
just gonna
fine.
say it was all the refs.
You can say the refs.
No, I'm just kidding.
Whatever you want to do, man. All
It
right.
does. Trust me, it doesn't make me feel that much better.
Rihanna is playing the halftime show for the Super Bowl. Are you guys excited for this? Tell me. You gotta tell me you're
Insanely.
excited for this.
Of
Give
course.
me a break. Are you kidding me? What else? I mean,
Considering I
besides
have all her albums on my playlist, absolutely, I'm excited.
what I'm talking about,
Good.
and she's like,
Yeah.
and she's thicker. She's thicker now too, which is not a bad thing at
Hey,
all. Like everything.
relax about my wife, okay? I don't like
No,
the way
you
you're
calm
talking
Okay,
about
down.
it.
But she
okay,
doesn't like.
okay,
She doesn't like Chiefs fans. Calm
Oh,
okay.
down,
she
man.
loves Chiefs.
All right.
Nah,
So,
right.
so,
ASAP.
so,
I'll let ASAP
hey,
Rocky take you out, bro. Give
so
me a break.
question: what songs do you think she's gonna sing?
Oh man.
Hmm.
It's tough, right?
It is
Umbrella, you gotta have umbrella. Up in
umbrella.
there.
I think
Shine bright
umbrella,
like a
no
diamond's
question.
gotta be up in that mix.
Because it's got to be.
I hope
It's probably not going to be super slow stuff, right? Like it's going to be all.
No, I think she'll
dancing and
end with a slow.
jumping.
I think she'll end with like a slow song. So I think "Stay" would be like a slow song she would end with, maybe.
Stay or what I would think, and I don't know if you can hear this, but this is the one from
all of the lights. I wonder if she'll play that even without. That'd be pretty
No,
sweet.
Light Me Up
no.
from what is it?
Oh, from Wakanda for Black Panther, Wakanda
Black
Forever.
Panther. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Oh.
That's good.
She might. She might.
Yeah, man. Chadwick, man.
Probably no S&M, huh?
No, no,
Dang.
not for
Not appropriate.
not appropriate for Super Bowl. I thought
It's
about that.
appropriate for me. Are you kidding me? Wait a minute. So you're telling me you got Janet Jackson's boob being ripped out? I mean, you got like,
You know all the shit she had to go through though after that. Like, no,
man, that wasn't a bad.
that was.
wasn't
I
a
know
bad
it
one.
wasn't. It
Thank
really
you. I
wasn't.
love that. I
It
was a
really
big fan of
wasn't.
hers too.
But anyway, I'm excited.
Anyways, I'm looking forward to that. I'm pumped. I don't think it's
Yeah.
gonna be. I don't know. Like it's obviously it's not gonna rank as high up there with me as M and Kendrick and Dre and 50 and everybody. Mary J. Blige. That was epic, man. That was
Sure.
epic for me at least. I could see how some different. You know what I mean? Different age groups might not have been as excited as, let's just say, us. You know what I mean, or anybody else who was in near our age group, but.
Sure.
For me, because of my age and where I was at, that's the stuff I listened to, you know what I mean? And it was amazing to have those, you know what I mean, those top of the line from our age group or from our era, all being on stage at the same time. But Rihanna, definitely, I can't wait. Can't wait.
Yeah. No, I'm excited, man. Like
I'm excited for real.
So for me, the Super Bowl, it's about it's all of it, right? Like it's the food, it's traditions, it's all of that. So I have a question for you guys. So not even talking about the teams that are playing, but so your Super Bowl traditions. So when you guys, obviously you guys have been you have been you've had it good, right? So you've been able to see your team in the Super Bowl a bunch of times, right? So when you guys go and you guys have, when you're watching the Super Bowl with your team in it, regardless of what happens, right? Like what are you eating? What's a Super Bowl like tradition or type of food that you guys are like, yeah, I'm watching my team play in the Super Bowl. I'm gonna eat this. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm wearing. And yeah.
Well, besides the Super Bowl, the Broncos versus the Seahawks, I was eating rat poison that day. I was drinking bleach. I
Oh
was
shit.
doing after that.
Man.
Just the one ball went over Peyton's head and the safety. Like I was eating every single chemical you could think of to just end it that quick. But to be honest with you, man, I'm a big wing fan. Love me some chicken wings, man. Gotta have chicken wings. It's a must, 100%.
Do you buy them
Chicken
or do you
wings.
make them?
I made them quite a few times. I smoke wings actually on my Big Green Egg. Got a nice little recipe for smoked wings. Delish. So, but honestly, it ain't gotta be like that. I don't gotta do that if I don't have to. But I could deal with any wings except we've had this conversation before. They gotta be bone in. Don't mess with me with your flavored chicken nuggets without the bones. It ain't happening. All right. Gotta be bone in.
Because you're a man's man.
It had nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that at all. That's just the taste factor for me. I just a chicken wing on a bone just tastes a little bit different in my opinion. It hits a little bit different.
In your mouth,
but
sure.
Easy, bro. Calm down. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But not my cup of tea. But also jalapeno poppers. I'll go with spice. Hook me up with spicy garlic. Spicier the better.
Yeah, that's my favorite, by the way. Spicy garlic.
Yeah,
man.
spicy garlic, off the chain. And real quick, other than that, I will tell you guys, just to let you guys get in there, but jalapeno poppers and maybe some pizza or some chili, something like that. Nachos. What you guys got?
Go ahead, Zach.
Wings. Wings for sure. I had you funny you mentioned that Super Bowl. Um, we ordered Papa John's pizza
Nice.
back
Oh,
then.
man,
That
no
was the
wonder.
last time I have eaten Papa John's pizza.
No wonder.
So
It was
Don't
your
blame
fault,
you,
Zach.
bro.
I've never went to my sister's place and had that. I have never had that since.
I don't blame you. I would have boycotted the Papa John's
I
too. I kind
did.
of feel
I
like doing
have.
it right now.
I
You're
have.
lucky there
I
ain't no
have.
Papa John's out here in New York, so I ain't even messing with
Oh,
it right
yeah,
now.
He
Just
yeah,
doesn't
busy.
eat Papa John's because the Broncos lost the Super Bowl. You heard it here.
Yeah, that was the one time I think I had pizza on a Super Bowl, and we get our teeth kicked in.
Murked.
So
Murked.
never,
Oh, did
never again. Have never done that again. So that was my rat poison. So,
you know what? On that day, real quick, Sacker, sorry, I didn't mean to go. On that day, I bought an orange keg of beer. I bought it just strictly for that. Like, I spent like an extra $20 or $30 on that
God
orange
damn.
keg, so it was orange beer. And let me just tell you, bud, I just wanted to, like I said, if I could get alcohol poison on a keg, it would have been that right there. They could have just pumped me full until I was done. That's how bad I felt. But
You know,
go
man,
back.
it's
What was the
tough.
rest you had?
Hey, I know how that feels. Like the Chiefs against the fucking Bucks, man. That's the way it happened. You know, they got beat up too. Like I get it. Like I understand how that feels now. You know, and it's rough. But I had good food, man. That's the thing. Like, so for me,
I
our
couldn't even eat when we lost that Super Bowl. After
Dude,
seriously, after that pizza, fuck.
yeah,
That was
yeah. My family, we have a tradition. Also, I just got to show you guys this. I haven't shown the crowd this yet, though. This
Oh,
is
God.
this is something my
God.
my mom's friend made. It's got the red lights and the Chiefs, and it's cool, man. It's got
I'm not gonna lie. That's a awesome thing besides the
there's
team.
we have an Rockies one. I think there's a Nuggets one
That's more
too.
like it.
They're pretty cool. They're pretty cool. I mean, you don't want to leave them in there because they'll start a fire because
Yeah,
they get pretty hot. But anyway,
sure.
as far as the food goes, my family, like the big thing we do, like we have this cheese dip. It's like 6 different cheeses. We throw some Rotella
Good
in
boy.
there, some
okay.
sausage and beef and tomatoes, and like it's amazing.
Oh,
It's
now you're talking. Now you're
amazing.
talking.
So we throw that in a crock pot, like, all day. And then and the scoops, Tostitos, whatever.
Mm,
And we go for it. But on top of that, this year I was thinking, because my brother made that, like when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, back in 2019, we had that. But I was like, so we got to do that again. So it's kind of like, not tradition, but also like superstition, right? And so I was like, what else do we have to make? We got to do similar stuff. But I think this year, my brother-in-law makes a really good brisket. Like he's got a smoker, a brisket. Oh, dude,
mm.
a good homemade brisket, right? Like smoked and everything, like amazing. So I think we're
That's
gonna
a good move.
yeah, man. Cheese dip, brisket. We might even throw some brats and dogs on the grill, and then just do some maybe some fruit, and then just kind of mix it all together. And I think we'll be good. So that's
Hmm.
kind of what we're looking for. And then obviously drinks and all that. But yeah, man. Do you guys have any traditions that you do for the Super Bowl besides like what you eat? You guys like bet? You guys bet on specific things like
I
they
really
have all kinds
don't.
of weird
Which
bets.
is crazy. Which is crazy. I really don't bet on the Super Bowl.
No.
Mm-mm.
So
I
yeah,
None at
really
all, huh?
don't.
because
I
there's
really don't.
there's little things like what color is the Gatorade that they pour on
You
the
really can't. You
skins?
can't do those bets. I don't think you could do those type of prop bets in Colorado. At least on the apps.
Yeah, no.
But
I'll mess with the squares. I do squares to get numbers. I think that's really
I
cool.
am doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a like for something for everybody to get
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
to enjoy themselves. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's luck of the draw with those numbers and
Right.
everything, and
Yeah.
you don't have to really know your stuff about that. So I'm in a few of those, and hoping to come up a little bit. But
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna throw a bet on the game, honestly. I won't tell you who, but shout
You
out
know
to my
what?
cousin Nick for his
You
Eagles getting to the
can
Bowl.
tell us because this is part of the thing. As far as predictions.
Well, the
Right?
script was
Well,
already released,
listen,
man.
I saw that, right? But listen.
Script
So
was already released.
let me ask you a question. So not just no, don't get your predictions yet. Give me what do you think's gonna happen, or keys to the game.
Offensive line of the Eagles versus the defensive line of the Chiefs. I think that's a big key to this game. I think the Eagles have one of the better offensive lines of the league, arguably probably the best offensive line in the league. And I'm just curious to see if the Chiefs and
Chris Jones.
Chris Jones and Frank Clark will have that same.
Don't forget about George Karlaftis, our
Yeah.
rookie. We got some rookies.
That whole line, I'm interested to see that. I think that's going to be the difference in the game, to be quite honest.
Sure.
I think it's going to be a couple different things. Honestly, you got to be if you're Philadelphia, it's got to be shutting down Kelsey. You shut down Kelsey, you got to give yourself a shot right there because the dude is a matchup nightmare to any team he plays, and he's gonna if he gets. You could see him getting like a 1-score, 2-score game. You know what I mean? It's not out of the ordinary for him to get 2 scores in the game and or just a score and like 150 yards. Who knows? The dude's just a matchup nightmare. So
Is he
that's going to be a
tight end of all time?
No. But he's on his way to being in the conversation.
He's the first ballot Hall of Famer at this.
For sure. But he's on his way to being in the conversation for sure. He's the most dominant in the league right now, hands down. Probably in the last. Who's better ever?
Yeah,
it's hard to say because it's
Tony Gonzalez, which I don't like saying because he's such a different as well. But
it's such
Tony
a different.
Shannon Sharp.
You think Shannon's better?
You know what I mean? Oh yeah.
Really?
Give me back three Super Bowls, 2 different teams, back to back, dominant man, dominant.
I think here's the thing about Shannon Sharp. He was probably if there wasn't a Shannon Sharp, we're not talking about Tony Gonzalez. We're not talking about Travis Kelce. We're not talking about Ron Gronkowski. He was really the first tight end that I could see that was a legitimate receiving threat. So he
just punked the whole Memphis Grizzlies team.
He has to be on that list no matter what happens from here on out.
True.
So whether he's the best or not, it's debatable depending on the era. Teams are passing the ball more than ever before, and he was in a league, and he was in an era where they were still running the ball. So,
well, by the way,
that's why I hate comparing errors.
Tough.
But
it's tough. And Shannon, it's crazy, man. It's funny to watch Shannon Sharp like talk about the Chiefs because that dude loves the Chiefs.
I know he does, and I don't.
He loves Travis Kelce, and he loves Mahomes more than anybody. It's weird, man. It's like
it's
like
so weird to me.
It is weird.
He can't. He can't have it all.
Man.
He can't have it all. He can't be the greatest and the best physique and good talker and punking the Memphis Grizzlies all by himself.
Hey, man,
listen,
you recognize great.
He's gonna have a downfall.
And I think you guys are right. I think they're gonna try to take away Kelsey as much as they can. And do you guys? So here's my question: do you guys think the Eagles are as good as everybody says they are, or do you think they're a product of their schedule?
I personally don't know where the schedule aspect comes from when everybody was propping up the NFC East all this year, and that's what boggles my mind. I get that they had some luck in the playoffs and whatnot, but I don't get the whole. You can't say that the NFC East was the best division in football and then say they ran through an easier schedule. That doesn't compute.
What I'll say is that. Do you guys agree that the AFC has the best quarterbacks? So I think the NFC like the
AFC has the best quarterbacks.
The best quarterbacks the Eagles have faced this year are Dak Prescott, and that's it, right? Like maybe Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers on a down year, right? Like who knows what the Packers are doing, but honestly, like, and that's the question. That's why I have a problem with like understanding where like I like with the Bengals and the Chiefs, I knew it was going to be a close game. I knew it was going to be, who knows who's going to win. It's going to be a coin flip kind of thing. But with this game, it's very, very weird to me to try to judge it because I know the Eagles have very good players. They have very good players. But is that a product of the teams that they're playing? Like at the beginning of the year, the Chiefs had the hardest, historically the hardest schedule of any team in the past, like whatever how many years. Like they had historically the toughest schedule, and then the Eagles had one of the easiest schedules. So but what's crazy is that they both have scored the same amount of points, which is kind of weird as well. The Eagles and the Chiefs had scored the exact same amount of points against opposing defenses. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm like, I don't know what to think with this Super Bowl. I'm excited to watch it, but obviously, but I'm not sure where things are gonna be.
Bob, I'll go ahead and let you have the last word as far as because I have a feeling I know which way you're gonna go. I don't know what it is that makes me realize or makes me think that you're gonna go a certain way. It might be the bathrobe. It might be just knowing you for too long. I'm gonna go with my cousin Nick and the Eagles. I like the story. I think that they're good on both sides of the ball. Honestly, I think Jalen's a stud. I think he's going to be a problem as far as to contain. And I'm gonna say it's gonna be a close game as well. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout. I think it's gonna come down to probably in the fourth quarter. Probably the last 5 minutes or so. It's probably going to be one of those Super Bowls, I think. But I'm going EAGL, yes, Eagles, and I will go by. I'm going to say 6 points. I think there might be a Super Bowl missed extra point or something like that. Something crazy.
What's the final score?
Well, the script that was leaked said 37-34, so I'm gonna go 36 to 30. I think that's what I'll do.
By
I
the way,
gotta change the script up a
by the
little
way,
bit.
my final score is that script. By the way, so
37-34.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
So
What do you got, Bob?
You can doubt the Chiefs. You can dislike the Chiefs. You can disrespect the Chiefs. You're going to have to deal with the Chiefs.
I think the Chiefs will win. I think the Chiefs can win 28-26.